Hey Droidsmiths, how's it going? Andy here, and we are on episode 3 of how to do this wonderful Bandai model kit. So, alright, today's episode is going to be pretty much about painting. And this is going to be a little bit mostly about planning ahead. We're going to figure out what pieces are needed for certain parts if you want to paint ahead. I'm going to show you the droid that I'm going to be painting. He's a background droid from A New Hope. And we're basically, it's just a lot of thinking ahead is really what it is. Because like I said, all these pieces go together like a puzzle. So you just got to figure out if you got 4 pieces layered on top of each other, if that piece is all of a sudden colored and it's showing through to the front, you know, you can't put them all together and take it all apart again. You got to figure that one out and pull it out and set it aside. So got the box of stuff. I've got some pieces already cut out here. So let me show you what's going down on the table. Your instructions, some parts out, parts in the box. Let me show you. Here's the guy I intend on building, okay? He is in Tatooine, and he's a background droid. And for some reason, I just really like him. I like this basically so dark blue, it's black panels and this dusty black, or excuse me, dusty dark blue. But see, look at this. These panels, his arms, the little slot up here, the horseshoe, the sides where the rocket boosters are, at least on R2, and then also even down here on that little, I don't know, cover plate, whatever that holds in that silver bar. These things are all stuff that you have to think about. There's a little panel right there too. And I know on this picture, and let me go to the next picture. See, look, we can see one more panel back here. And I can see a little bit more. It's nice. He's got some silver, maybe some lighter colors. You can actually see he's got that top photoreceptor. But see, even in this one, you can see like a dark of the panels. But like here, it looks like a lighter blue almost. Maybe it's the sun reflecting, maybe it's not. A lot of these background droids, you really have to guess. You know, I've done some digging. There's actually an old Angel Fire website where the owner stopped doing stuff after season 3 of the Clone Wars. But he's got a lot of great pictures going on in here. So this is the guy I'm intending to build. And there's even some pictures. Let's see, do I have the other ones? Yeah, here we go. Look at this shot. That's the same dome. That is clearly, I mean, we got the dark navy, dark blue panels, but that dome color, clearly much lighter than what you see there. So you really got to try to figure out and balance what you want for colors. Let me get out to this. So you really got to think. I took out the arms. Okay, there's the side parts of the legs. Here's the little thin part that goes right underneath the dome. This is the bottom of the dome. That's that piece. Let's get out some other stuff. What do we got going here? I mean, right now I'm just looking at painting only one color. Okay, so I'm just going for that dark blue kind of a color. And he had some panels. The large side panels going up and down on either side of his body. I always do the doors closed. I really don't go in for the tools. So, here we go. Let me focus that in a little more. Here we go. These panels right here. Closed doors and open doors. You can see they got the little tab right there if you want to help display them open. So I'll be chopping off those. Remember, he had that little tiny side panel, which is right there. I gotta cut that one out. But look at this, man. The back of that panel, there's really nothing much there as far as how to hold it. If I clip that off, how do I do it? So I'll tell you what, you take one of your, I don't have one on my table right now because I wasn't really planning for this. You just take, we'll pretend this is your alligator clip stick. Take some masking tape and just really simple. Do a little loop. Put it on the side of the alligator. And if you don't have anything like, you know, anything to clamp onto, just take your piece. you know, just fix it like that and just and then when you spray. Okay, so it's easy enough for the small parts, but still try to remember to do it in a place where you're probably really not going to lose them. I'm on the second floor in a porch doing these, and hopefully and not yet, they usually haven't flown off those alligator clips with tape. So I have a lot more cutting out to do to try and figure out which pieces go for those dark panels, but I will show you the next step, because even though these pieces are close to that blue that he has, you should still do a step here. If you paint these and then the white panels, they're actually going to be a different color. How do we get rid of that variance? This is what you do. Hey, Droidsmiths. Alrighty, so here we are outside. I've told you off and all, on the second floor in a tiny apartment on a porch, and that's where I do my painting. Well, here's my view. So anyways, can of spray paint. Alrighty. I do tend to like Krylon myself. I know there's also Rust-Oleum out there, but for me, I've had a couple bad experiences with Rust-Oleum, so I do tend to like the Krylon a little bit more. They also do have a paint for plastic that actually says that on the can as well. So anyways, this is obviously a can of white. So I'm going to show you what we're going to do. Of course, first of all, it always helps actually when your paint is warm. I know it's February right now and it's a little bit chilly, but this can has been sitting inside. I pretty much keep all my paint cans inside just for this reason. When it's warmer, it's going to apply better. It's just, think of it as, you know, not coagulating and chunking up a little bit. If it's cold, you're not going to get a nice smooth even coat. And for pieces when they're this small, it definitely matters to get a smoother coat. So of course, you're going to want to shake it up. And that little metal ball inside, I actually found out it's just it's a glass marble. Kind of crazy. You can keep doing this. It's what everybody always does. But in addition to the paint, of course, in here there's propellant. As you rattle that ball around, it actually will mix some of the propellant. Will get, let's say, attached to the paint. It could affect the surface of the paint when it dries. Could not. Another method, just roll it. Just like that. And you can feel the ball kind of moving up and down as you tilt. It mixes it up a little bit well too. Another thing that you can do to make sure that your paint is warm, outside of course keeping it inside, I have seen guys heat up water in the microwave, or if you have an electric tea kettle, do that. Put it in a small bowl or a slightly larger bowl depending, and you set this inside, and you know, just let it sit in there for about 2 minutes or whatever like that, 3 minutes, and it'll warm that paint can up as well. Learned a lot of these tricks on some modeling boards that I was a part of quite a while ago, so that was a whole another lifetime. So anyways, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to turn around so I can show you this. Alright, so we're going to take it, we're going to depress, move it across the surface, and then let it go. Okay, so essentially you're going straight across. You're starting, moving, finishing. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. And because now this one you can see a lot of these pieces here. Let me see if I can actually focus this puppy. Yeah, oh well. But anyways, it's the tiny pieces. You know, these are parts in this dome. You know, here's like one of the lights. Here's the top of the dome. You know, one of the PSI displays right up there. But these are the tiny, tiny pieces. Yes, like I just said, you can take them off and tape them to one of the alligator clips. There you go. And that works really, really well. But when you got a lot of little tiny pieces like this, especially with the way, like I said, Bandai does the sprue attachments, you really don't have to worry about it too much. You can spray paint right on the sprue with some of these. All the ones that I can't really do that well and that have bad attachment points, I've taken those off and I've put them on over there. Okay, so now, base coat of white. This will help the blues match up from the body to the dome colors. So it's possible that, like I said, you could get a slightly darker color blue because you have a dark base. So here's what we're going to do. Check it out. Can you see it? Yeah, it's gone a little bit. You can see it. There we go. Alrighty. So I'm going to hit start. And alright, now look, also too, that really didn't get a whole lot. You know, you didn't get complete coverage with that, and that's okay. You want to do several light coats, okay? Take it, turn it, because it's got different angles. There we go. And this is where these sticks help too. Alrighty, so now even this one I can tell, and you could probably tell a little bit on that, maybe not. It's not completely covered. That's okay. Let it sit for a minute. I've got it sitting on a flat surface here. Okay, let it sit. Do a couple other pieces. In the time that it's sitting, that paint will spread out a bit and it'll flatten out, and then you can hit it with another light coat. Okay, several light coats is always better than one huge heavy coat, because then A, it's just going to be super thick, it's going to look bad, and B, because like I said, these kits are so well engineered, you may not actually be able to fit it into the receptacle area that it's supposed to go into, and you'll just have to do some more sanding and shaving and more of a pain in the butt. So anyways, I've got a whole bunch of parts to do, so let me do these, and then when it's all done, I'll show you what this one looks like. Okay, here's a good close-up of one of the pieces that we spray painted, and something I wanted to point out is that on this piece I actually needed it to be white. This is the frame for his center vents there. But you notice on the side how it's definitely very speckled. Obviously the blue isn't completely covered. Don't worry about that at all, okay? Really, the only part that's going to be showing is the top part, you know, the front facade there. So if you have pieces like this that don't show at all, don't worry about spray painting at all, because really it's not necessary, and all it's going to do is maybe cause some trouble later down the line if you put on too much paint. Alrighty guys, here we are out on the porch again. This is day 2 now. I waited for a whole night for these things to dry, and like I just showed you in that close-up of the one piece, if the edges are not all completely done, don't worry about it. Only really worry about the surfaces that you're actually going to end up seeing. So here's a can, got a nice dark color. Sun's really bright out here because I'm shooting this in the morning, and of course the sun's right there shining in on the porch, which sometimes can be good because then actually it dries pretty well. So I'm just going to hit this really quick, and we're going to do that same kind of a deal, the same back and forth, start, sweep, and then stop motion, okay? Alrighty, definitely I can see, I don't know if how well you guys can see, there's definitely some pieces in there that are not completely covered, especially like that one right there. This is a nice, pretty dark, dark blue. Hopefully it'll match that one color well. So again, not completely covered, set it down, pick up another piece, and then just keep going on. By the time, especially with as many pieces as I have right now, by the time I finish the last piece on the stick here, I'll be able to go back to that first full sprue, hit it again. That'll give the paint time to settle down a little bit, and then of course just let it dry, and then we move on to the next step. Okay guys, since this video is already starting to get a little bit long, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you a couple things. I know some of you were interested in painting, so I do have a couple little, let's say, cheater techniques that we can do for some of this, okay? So first of all, here's what we're going to do. Here's the side horseshoe, you know, the side of his leg, excuse me. So the picture that I have shows that everything on the horseshoe, the sides of the horseshoe, you know, this has a back piece, so that connects like that to it. But it shows that everything minus this area down here is painted that dark blue. So we need to mask that off. And this is going to be a hand technique and not a spray technique. So here we go. This is Tamiya masking tape. You can buy it in a roll like this. It also comes individual without the dispenser as well. But there you can kind of see Tamiya, Tamiya masking tape. This stuff is wonderful. And it's somewhat expensive, but not really bad. I think I got the dispenser and everything and a roll for like $7 maybe. So, oops, it's not really that bad. There you go. Sorry about the focus there, folks. Alrighty, so got a little piece ripped off. So basically, we are just going to go ahead and try to put the tape inside. We're going to take an edge, lay it up against the inside edge. Now, this is kind of where that X-Acto comes in handy for more than just cutting things. Use it to kind of push down. And the wonderful thing about Tamiya masking tape is that it is somewhat flexible. So you can kind of get it into the nook there. Push down a little bit in the middle, and then we'll come around here to get down on this side. Push that in there, down, down. Okay. So not real bad. All right, we'll just fold that end over. Fold that end over. So there we go. We got a little bit. Yeah, okay. That's kind of pushing into the edge actually there. I know it's kind of hard for you guys to probably see a little bit, but it's actually going into the corners. And even if it does, don't really worry about it, because what we are going to be using, well, what I'm using are acrylic paints versus enamels. For the longest time, I definitely was an enamel user. But then, honestly, when I got really heavily involved in some of the modeling forums online, they just said, hey, you guys got to go ahead and just use acrylics because it's way easier. So check it out. Here we go. Acrylics, Craft Barrel, or Apple Barrel, Craft Smart. This one's Delta Ceramic Coat. So, I mean, you can actually go and get these, check out these pictures. You can go and get these puppies at Walmart. And I always, of course, I always say Walmart because it's always so common. But you can go into Michael's. You can go into, well, an AC Moore if you still have them around you. But there are loads of colors, and you can get about everything you need. Walmart usually has a lot of the stuff that I use, but this is definitely, you know, if you hit into Michael's, you're golden because their selection is enormous. All right, so here we go. This is a very, very close match to that dark blue that I got. So we're going to use that. And the nice part is, of course, about acrylics, you can always mix them and lighten them up. So I'm just going to put a little bit on a paper towel here. And of course, for something this small, you don't need a lot. Okay, there we go. Way more than enough. All right, so I'm looking at the color. Honestly, that looks pretty good. This color ended up being a little bit too light for my taste for the pictures. So I am going to darken that up a little bit, and I may do it using the weathering technique. So with this darker paint. So here we go. Now something else I want to use. A lot of people, acrylics, they just use some water here, and which is what I have. But actually I'm going to use this just to rinse out my brush. This is what I'm going to be using in this bowl. I know it's hard to see a little bit. That's what I'm going to be using to thin it out. What is this miraculous substance? Oh, windshield washer fluid. Yeah, you got it right. This is really just like the $2-3 jug that you can find, you know, just about anywhere. Yes, I know it seems kind of weird, but windshield washer fluid is wonderful because it actually very closely mirrors the atomic structure and the molecular structure, excuse me, of acrylic paint. So while water will actually break apart the molecules, the windshield washer fluid will actually stretch your paint. It will fill in the gaps. So, much like the frog DNA in Jurassic Park, it's stretching and filling in the gaps. All right, so we're going to do this. So, hey, look at that. Our hands won't get anything mucky. All right, so basically I kind of thinned it out a little bit. You could see me pulling and stretching it down here. Okay. Got a nice, decently thin brush. Probably can't even really see that close, can you? Yeah, oh well. Here we go. Let's try this, and we can focus. There we go. So, I love this particular brush because it's just so very, very nice and very, very smooth. So just thin it out. And remember, light coats. If you don't cover it all in one shot, don't worry about it. So, see, look at that. It's going on wonderfully. Now, the reason is that you want to thin paint is because that if you just take it straight out of the bottle, it may be too thick, it may be a little clumpy. With a thinning agent in the paint, let me bring this up a little closer so you can even see some of this. I'll try to work close to the camera for you. Let's see here. There we go. There's a focus. With a thinning agent in the paint, and you may be able to see it a little bit, you know, it spreads out. Just like we were doing with the spray paint on the parts outside on the porch, this is going to spread out and it will level out. Okay, so which is wonderful because then you will not get bumps all over your surfaces. Because you got to think down in scale, if you know, the bumps to you right now would look really, really tiny. But if you scaled this puppy up and he was full size, those bumps would be really, really enormous. So having it thinned out will give you a smoother coat of paint. And like I said, it may be kind of a pain in the butt to do it a couple of times, but you know what? The end process is just marvelous. So, and you notice I'm just, whenever I go down here to pull, here, let me refocus. When I'm going down here, I'm just dipping slightly into the paint and pulling it out into this little murky palette here. So, here we go again. And remember, it's okay if you don't get a clean, smooth coat the first time, because we are going over and over and over. The windshield washer fluid. Funky little trick I learned from a lot of really smart guys on a forum for a model kit company called Polar Lights. I had some familiar relations with Polar Lights that were discovered, and I went on that board and it's like, holy moly, I thought I was good at model kits before. Those guys are just absolutely brilliant with what they had. Sadly, that old bulletin board style page is gone, but it lives on in Facebook and other ways. So anyways, I'm kind of rambling here just because I want to paint and get all this done and show you, but you can kind of see really essentially how it's turning out. And the nice part is too, acrylic paint dries pretty darn quickly. So even as I'm finishing up these last bits, you can kind of see a little bit of a reflection there. Look at that, just that one little part's wet right up there. But the rest of that, still pretty dry. So that's pretty good, actually. So we could even just go over this again. Let me see if I can refocus here for you. There we go. So we'll just even go over this again. And see, look how good that looks now. Whoops. Got a little bit there. But see now, look how smooth that is. There we go. You know, it looks a little chunky, twirling there in the light, but you know what? Honestly, it looks really, really good. And you let this sit, and you let it settle, and you let the paint just kind of do its thing and level out. And you're good. Gentle strokes when you're doing all of this, okay? And you may have to do a little bit of touch-up once you take off the paint. But honestly, all in all, it's not bad. On the back side of these horseshoes, there is a tiny little groove. So it can, you know, join with the back side of the leg. Try to get inside the groove a little bit because that will show once the final piece is done. Okay. So let's just finish painting that up. There we go. Looky there. Oh, that puppy's beautiful. Loving it. All right. Wash out the brush a little bit, just a little swish. Always, too, try to do this. Okay. Try to bring your brush down and across just lightly. Okay. Don't just, don't stab it and swirl and whatever. Just let that capillary action of the towel pull the brush off. All right, so there's one thing we're going to do, all right? That's one way to paint. Another one is a cheater that I'm going to love to do. I'm going to show you this. All right, here's the dome that I finished, part of it at least. So I had to do some cutting and trimming inside to get these pieces inserted because the dome, and here's another sprue, the dome actually comes in two pieces, obviously, okay? So, the seams for this are actually right here, and then, of course, right here on the back side as well. I hate having those seams there. So you can kind of see, barely see it when the sun's reflecting off of it. You can see the vertical line right there. But if you're just looking at it in general, you can't really see it at all. So, but anyways, here's a nice little cheat for you. The projector right here actually is silver. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you this. Two wonderful things that can help you so much. Sharpie, and this is a calligraphy pen, metallic colors. So this is actually fabulous. I actually have two tips on this. I have a very thin tip and I have a thicker tip. Take a Sharpie, take a metallic pen, and this is a little bit of a fine-tuned thing here. Let me show you. Okay, you see how it's got like the outer ring and it's got the inner ring. I'm going to leave the outer ring, the dome blue color. I'm just going to paint the inner ring. And because this has this nice sharp chisel edge, I can just do this. There we go. Look at that. Beautiful. And this is also kind of a fun way to get a little variety and texture in your paint scheme. Because now, while you do have silver pieces like I have here, I painted those silver and popped them in. But see, look at there, Sharpie. All right, that's just a bright blue Sharpie. This silver, the silver of the Sharpie, and the silver here are all going to be slightly different tones, different shades, different, you know, hues, glossy, matte, what have you. So, see, there's the other side of that. So it gives you just a little bit of variety. So then we're also going to find somewhere on here. I should have looked for this beforehand. There we go. Okay, let's see, which one is it? It's this one, number 9. Okay. So we are just actually, you know what? I'm going to use the Sharpie because that's a little bit simpler. Just because it has kind of a fuzzier tip. And it was number 9. And basically, you can just go along here and just Sharpie that sucker up. We can take it off, which would probably be a little bit smarter idea, but you get the idea. Look at this. And we'll just go inside, go all around. Okay, there we go. Look at that. And voila. There we go. it's a whole different shade, a whole different color. So that's even more fun. Also, too, I don't have one on me here. Well, you know what? I got this blue one. I can show you with this. This could even be fun. This is a fine tip Sharpie. So obviously, probably his lens inside there is not going to be silver. Take a thin tip Sharpie and just go inside. You can see that happening, right? Oh, there we go. Look at that, a little extra detail. Now he's got a colored lens inside. Super glue is good in certain spaces where other times, you know, like a modeler's glue would work, or you just don't even have to with some of these kits sometimes. So here's actually what I'm going to do with this. We are actually going to just, because actually there's paint on this, I don't want it to run. If I used my Plasti-Weld, that would actually, because it's so liquid, it would actually cause everything to run, and I don't want that to happen, because if I put a little drop on there, it'll just, capillary action will take it all over, it'll smear the paint. So I'm just going to do this, and we are just going to, let me try to focus in on that. We are just going to do a very tiny drop. Look at that, just barely popping out. And I'm not even going to put it on there. I'm just going to tap that on there. So you have the tiniest of beads on top of that, okay? Now this is a part that's keyed also too. So you have to look. Each one of these is different. Because you see the dome there. It's got the flat side up there on the top of the circle. Just going to insert, come on, get in there. Where's the flat side? Oh, kind of lost it a little bit. No pun intended. There we go. Got it. Perfect. So there we go. That super glue really isn't going to run because it's kind of a gel. So there we go. Okay, so these videos seem to be getting a little bit longer and longer and longer every time because it seems like I have so many cool things I want to show you guys. Okay, so recapping slightly. Super glue does work a little bit better for certain things than like the Plasti-Weld would do, okay? So it does have its definite uses. I would also use this on his panels on the top dome. Even if I wasn't painting, I would still put a dab of super glue where each one of those little circles is inside the hole. Dab of super glue, take the panel, pop it onto place, because those little panels will pop off with too much, you know, playing, abusing, you know, swooshing around the room, scooting them along in the sand, you know, because they're on Tatooine. So anyway, super glue does work better in some instances than other things. Everything has its place and its time to be used, okay? We also did the painting on the horseshoe. See, that looks almost perfectly dry right now. One slight wet spot, but dang, that looks awesome. When I do the dome for this, remember I said I wanted to change those panels, make them a little bit darker. I'm essentially going to take the tape and I'm going to border around it. We're going to handle that in probably the next episode. Also something too I want to show you guys in the next episode. If you remember a little bit back, I said that, where's that bottom? Remember his skirt was cut off at the bottom, in the middle? Okay, I did that. And then remember, I also said that his feet, the center foot, was actually flat. Didn't have the half moons on it. I already cut those off. I put on some putty, but we'll show you exactly how that's going to work in the next episode as well. So there's some good things that we're going to cover. The journey is definitely not over because there's 100 little things that you can do to make the kit your own. Or, you know what, you can just simply plow right through your first one, a tab A and a slot B. But I know some of you wanted to deal with this painting, especially, so that hand painting is especially good, especially when you're going to do like, you know, if you want to do like one tiny panel and you don't want to drag out a whole can of spray paint just for the one tiny panel. So that's a good thing to do. Another thing we're going to tackle is weathering. So I don't know if you saw it on my table here too. I have pastel chalks. These are wonderful. I love these for weathering They do a great job. It's a good job for getting just a little bit of dirt around the edges and things like that. So we'll handle weathering with pastel chalks in the future too. So in the meantime, thanks for popping in, Droidsmiths. Whether you found me on Astromechs Anonymous on Facebook, which is what these were originally intended for, the members, or you're looking at me on YouTube, thanks for joining me. If you don't know anything about Astromechs Anonymous YouTubers, go and check them out. They're on Facebook. It's a great group. It's basically astromech-centric, but we love all the droids. So basically showing off your collection, having some fun, showing off news, showing off your builds. You know, I mean, look at all these guys that I've got back here. I've shown off most of them on the page as well. So it's a good time. Got about 2,000 members, and we're still growing. Only a couple of years old, but we're having a great time with contests and giveaways and just all kinds of good stuff. Weekly features, daily features. So you name it, it's a good time over there at Astromechs Anonymous. So anyways, for episode 4, I will see you soon. See you later, Droidsmiths.